What's up guys, Agent here again with our first PTS video for the new DLC coming out in March, Harrow Storm. Today we're going to be taking a look at the improved Elf Bane from 5.3.0. So with Elf Bane on the PTS right now, they actually buffed the 5-piece bonus. So on live, the 5-piece bonus increases duration of our flame damage over time abilities by 2 seconds. As you can see here on the PTS, it is being buffed by 5 seconds instead. So this is actually pretty big buff overall, especially for MagDKs who obviously have a lot of damage over time abilities that are considered flame damage. Now, a couple of things to note with Elf Bane before you jump onto the train, so to speak. First, it is a heavy armor set, which means if you're going to be running this, you're going to want to run jewelry. Next, because it is a 5-piece static bonus, you're going to want to run 2 body pieces and 3 jewelry pieces, because having it on the front bar isn't necessarily going to give you the best return using Elf Bane. This means you will need to have light armor for your monster helm if you are running a monster helm. So you can see here I am running 2 light pieces of Zaan, and then I have 3 light sorority pieces. This is so I can maintain my 5 light armor bonuses, so I get the additional spell penetration and all the other bonuses that come with the light armor passive. So that's the second thing you want to take note of. You will not be able to do 5-1-1. You will be forced into doing 5-2 instead. So 5 light, 2 heavy. Of course, with the fact that it's heavy armor, you will need to transmute the jewelry from healthy to arcane infused or bloodthirsty. I have bloodthirsty here. And then the other thing too is that you don't get any additional crit bonuses. So if you're running the Elf Bane, and depending on your second set, if you're running something like Sorority like I am here, you might need to run the Thief rather than the Shadow instead if you want to really min-max your DPS overall. Now, how Elf Bane works is pretty straightforward. It just increases the duration of any flame damage over time abilities by 5 seconds. So if we go ahead and take a look here at Burning Embers, you can see the duration is 19 seconds. Same with Engulfing Flames. Flames of Oblivion still lasts only 15 seconds, despite the fact that we are wearing Elf Bane, and that's because Flames of Oblivion is not considered damage over time. It is considered direct damage, so we don't get any additional bonuses to Flames of Oblivion. On the back bar, Eruption gets the additional 5 seconds, so we get 24 seconds with Eruption. Blockade of Fire and Unstable Wall of Fire also get the buff as well, so 19 for Blockade, and then if we were to swap to Unstable Wall, for example, we would also see that we get 14 seconds from the 10 seconds instead. Now here in the actual skill thing, it does not bring it up because it is not the Unstable Wall of Fire or Elemental or Blockade of Fire. It only shows up when you actually have it slotted. Currently on the PTS, it is bugged. It is not giving you the full 5 seconds additional duration, but I did talk with Nevis, and he has informed the dev about this issue, so we should be getting some clarification on that in a little bit. Other damage over time components that also work, Burning Talons. It's originally 4 seconds, now it is 9 seconds. And the same thing goes for Scalding Rune. Originally deals damage for 14 seconds, now it's bumped up to 20 seconds for that dot. Other set bonuses that are also affected is actually Zaan. So Zaan bumps it up to 10 seconds here. If I take away this curse of Elf Bane, you can see it drops it down to 5 seconds. Another monster helm set that is also affected here, let me really quickly pull it up. It's going to be Grothdarr. So with Grothdarr here, you can see with Elf Bane on, it's 10-second duration here. We take off this one piece of Elf Bane, you see it drops it down to 5 seconds. A lot of things are affected by Elf Bane here. Now, one thing I want to point out here is that Zaan continues, the damage continues to ramp up after the 10 seconds for each of these seconds dealt. So, let's see if I can get it to proc. There we go. So you can see that the damage is going 82, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 24, 26. So it continues to stack continuously as the beam continues to last longer and longer. However, it does not seem necessarily to be buffing it by the advertised 50%. So if we go ahead and take off Elf Bane and try to proc it again, 82, 10, 12, 14, 16. You can see here that with Elf Bane on, each tick of Zaan is actually getting stronger. So that is pretty much what Elf Bane does. But of course, you guys aren't interested in. Well, guys, guess you guys are interested in what it does, but you guys are probably more interested in DPS tests. So I did do a few tests here. Get rid of these ones here. This first test was with Zaan. I did change up the rotation a little bit here, so I used Burning Talons just because it is now a fairly strong dot with the bonus from Zaan here. Pretty much all fire bonuses, only fire dots basically more or less. Now the idea behind running Elf Bane is it gives us more time on our dots, which allows us to use more Molten Whips. You can see here I have 119 casts of Molten Whips here. Over here I have 112. Casts of Molten Whip over a longer period of time, slightly longer period of time. So I am getting more Molten Whips casts in there. This is without Elf Bane. I believe this is with Mother Sorrow and Sororia. Yes, this is Mother Sorrow and Sororia here. So with Elf Bane we were pulling 83k, just over 83k. With Mother Sorrow we were pulling 82.4k. So with this, I was actually running the Shadow Mundus rather than the Thief Mundus, so I could probably get a little bit better. You can see here Shadow Mundus. If I probably could have gotten a little bit better if I was running the Thief Mundus instead. Not too much, but just a little bit more here. And I'm also not getting the full additional Blockade duration here because of that bug that I mentioned earlier. So this could in theory be even higher because I'll be able to use more Molten Whips because I won't be needing to cast Blockade of Fire, recast it nearly as often. So you can see here that Elf Bane is actually pretty strong, despite the few drawbacks that it does have. If you're able to run Zaan with it, it's actually really, really powerful. 83k here compared to 82.4k. Now in terms of crit bonuses, I should say standardizing over crits, I did do that in the on the side here, and basically with the Zaan parse, or I should say with the Elf Bane parse, the actual number of crits I'm getting is lower than my average crits. Right now, Cometrics is bugged. It's not showing me the actual mean crit chance, but I do actually have a lower crit chance. This actually ends up being a little bit higher when I standardize for crit chance. It actually ends up being closer to about 85k. And this parse actually ends up being lower because our actual crit chance actually is higher than what our mean crit chance is. So this actually gets dropped down to about 80.6k or so. So Elf Bane is a pretty strong set. Assuming nothing changes and you are able to run Zaan, then Elf Bane is probably going to be one of the strongest sets that you can run as a MagDK. But it's only going to be useful for MagDKs, obviously, because their toolkit really matches up very well with Elf Bane. Now we also don't know if this is going to be the final iteration of the Elf Bane buff. They might change it so it doesn't affect Zaan or any monster helm sets, which I think would be really good because Elf Bane plus Zaan and PvP, it's probably not a good idea. I mean, Zaan is already powerful enough in PvP, and if it lasts for 10 seconds, it's only going to be even stronger. That being said, if you are up against somebody running Zaan and you are tethered for the full 10 seconds, I think you kind of deserve to die because there are many ways that you can actually break that tether with Zaan. Just running away, for example, is one of them. I know it's a little bit difficult to counter, especially in the chaos of PvP, but it is a obviously viable way to counter Zaan. So it remains to be seen whether this is going to remain unchanged and be released on live the way it is, or if we're going to change the way either Zaan works or the way Elf Bane kind of interacts with monster helm sets. I think the second is probably going to be more likely than the former. But that concludes this video. Hopefully you guys found this informative. Again, I would not necessarily go out and buy up your Elf Bane sets pieces just yet, just in case they do decide to change it in future PTS iterations or when they launch it on live. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in the next dungeon.